So I'm going to take the next 10 to 15 minutes of your life to share with you my story. So my name is Caroline, and I grew up in a little suburb in Australia called Coogee. And I grew up climbing cliffs, I grew up running, I grew up hiking, I grew up always with sand in my hair and surfing. I grew up fearless, and I used to climb, I used to climb the cliffs in Coogee. I used to climb them all the way up, look over the horizon, watch the surf break, and then I used to climb all the way down. And we're talking about 100-meter cliffs with bare hands and feet. I used to do that when I was 16 years old. And shortly after that, I finished university and I decided to go traveling. So I went to Singapore, to Malaysia, to Laos, to China, to Vietnam. I did the Trans-Mongolian Express all the way through Mongolia and Russia. And at the end of 2018, the economic crisis hit, or 2008, sorry, and I moved to the Middle East, and I've been here for the last 11 years. And this is where my real story begins. So 4 years ago, I had one of the most humbling moments of my life. I was climbing an outdoor rock climbing wall, and it was almost tiered like a triangle. And it was a wooden kind of dilapidated wall. And I climbed it all the way to the top, and I plummeted all the way down. And I fell. I wasn't wearing any shoes. I fell all the way down onto concrete, and I essentially smashed my entire body. And I think you need the sound now. So I shattered both of my feet. On the right side, it was an open fracture to my heel bone, and it shattered into loads of pieces. On the left side, I shattered my heel bone as well, and then the bone just above it called the talus, which connects to your shin, and I shattered one of my toes. Then I had in my pelvis, my pubic bone snapped off, and then the whole bone where your hip bone is, the whole thing just shattered, and it was up much higher than it should be. I had a burst fracture to part of my spine, and then tendons that had adhered in my right foot that were fixed, and I had clawed toes, so they were also fixed as well. I had in total about 14 surgeries, procedures. Not all of them were like massive. And I had 23 blood transfusions. I think 14 of them were complete, and then the rest were like platelets or plasma. One of the things that really made me keep going was the fact that so many people were there. And I was never alone, ever in that room. There was always someone there. But yeah, I just did everything that I could at the time. I tried some ridiculous things. I went to like gong therapy and sound therapy. I think because I was so open to trying lots of different things and meeting lots of different people, I went down lots of different paths when it came to therapies. I didn't want this to be the culmination of what I had done, you know? Like, I couldn't leave it at that. Because if I left it at that, then I would never forgive myself. Then I was just determined after that, determined to do everything that I could to change. And I did. So what this video doesn't show is that when you have a pelvis, you have the right side of your pelvis, you have the left side, it's connected together by bone. So when you fall really fast onto gravel, the part of your body that touches the floor first, that side smashes. So for me, it was my right side, and I fell onto my right side, and I smashed, well, my left foot and my right foot, but all the way up this side of my body, so that my pelvis went like this. And it was no longer attached to the left side of my body. So my right side and my left side were separate. And at the time, because of the injuries to my pelvis and because of the injury to my spine, the doctors had told my family that I was never going to walk again. And then a couple of months later, they told me that, look, the reality is you're going to walk, but you're never going to walk properly again. You're going to live in considerable amount of pain, and you're probably going to be disabled for the rest of your life. And that news devastated me. And I didn't want that for myself whatsoever. So I had three choices. The first choice was, which was impossible because I was laying in a hospital bed, I couldn't move. Choice number two was that I was going to believe everything that everyone had told me. I was going to believe what the doctors said. I was going to believe them when they said that I was never going to walk. I was going to believe when they said that I was never going to run again and I would never climb another mountain. Or choice three was that I was going to try something different. I was going to believe in me. I was going to give it a shot because I had nothing to lose. I was already at rock bottom. I was in a home that had been converted into a hospital room. I had an electric bed. I had nappies. I had a changing table. I had a wheelchair. I had a commode. I was 30 years old, and that was my life. So I had nothing to lose. So shortly after this time, I lost my mum, and that was even more devastating to deal with all of this and the grief of losing her. And I remember being at home and listening to this song that my mum used to sing to me. That was my home. She used to sing this nursery rhyme. And it was like, we're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Have you guys heard of it? It's a nursery rhyme. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. We're going through the jungle. And you can't go over it. We can't go under it. But we have to go through it. And I realized then that there was no escape for me. I couldn't get out of this situation. And the only thing that I could do was to go through it. I couldn't numb myself with painkillers, and I couldn't run away from it. I had to live every single moment of this. And this took me 4 years. It took me 2 years to learn how to walk, and I walked it was bad. I did not walk well. And it took me 4 years, 2 years to learn how to walk, and then 2 years how to walk like a normal person. And then in February of this year, so I was in Australia, in my home country, and I was with one of my best friends, and we were climbing Australia's highest mountain, Mount Kosciuszko. It's 2,228 meters. And we climbed all the way to the top, we came all the way down, and 2 kilometers from the bottom, I couldn't walk anymore. My feet were in so much pain. So we called the park ranger, and the park ranger drove us down to the bottom. That was in February of this year. And my best friend, Teddy, had done a Guinness World Record. Him and his 3 friends drove all the way around Australia, Europe, and Africa, and they won the longest quad bike journey in the world. That was them. And he was telling me all of his stories, and the whole time I was sitting there listening to him, and this idea was brewing in my mind. Like, I wanted to climb a mountain. I had learned how to walk, I had learned how to run, and I wanted to do something else. So I came up with this idea to hike 15 mountains in the Middle East. And I chose this region because I've lived here for the last 11 years. This is my home. So 15 countries, 15 mountains in 30 days. So, remembering that I already told you that in February I couldn't walk up one mountain. So from February to September, I needed to get my body and my mind to a place where I could do 15. And I did. One, kind of, not all of them. So I did. Thank you. So you can see there, I went to Iran, to Turkey, to Iraq, to Syria, to Lebanon, to Jordan, to Egypt, to Bahrain, to Qatar, to Oman, and to the UAE. And I managed to summit 10 of those mountains. And the last 5, we had a little itsy-bitsy security problem with some of them. Obviously, this is the Middle East. Now I understand why no one's ever tried this before. And I did 15. So look, I'm sure that not a lot of people get up here and tell you that they failed a Guinness World Record. But that wasn't the point at all. The point wasn't that I did something and I failed. The whole point of this is that I climbed a mountain. That in those last 4 years, I ran, I walked, and I got up a mountain. So I'm going to leave you this with, oh, wait, pictures. So this is Turkey. So I'm just going to move to the side so you can see. So this is the Middle East's second highest mountain. This is 5,200 meters. This is snow-capped. Apparently this is the home of Noah's Ark. It's called Mount Ararat. And on the summit of this mountain, it was minus 10 degrees, and we had just 25-kilometer winds. It was freezing. This is Iran. And I went to Iran just as 3 Australians were taken as hostages. And I went to this country and I felt just nothing but warmth and hospitality and just so much support. And this is the highest volcano in Asia. It's the highest mountain in the Middle East. This is 5,671 meters. It's Mount Damavand. So I did that one too. This is Lebanon and Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, beautiful, Kuwait, Oman, and the UAE. So this is all of the 10 mountains that I managed to complete. And I'm going to leave you with one last thing, because we've had a lot of people here talking about passion and about failure and about how you brew all of those together. So I'm going to leave you with this. No matter what happens in your life, be brave, be strong, and be stubborn in believing in you. Because trust me when I say you've got this. And the universe, she's just waiting for you to succeed. Thank you.